Disclaimer: this program contains graphic descriptions of real crimes. Viewer discretion is advised. All parties are presumed innocent until proven guilty in court. I need you to imagine the exact second a mother's prayer fails to outrun a stranger's smile. That's the moment Mia steps into heat shimmering off Texas asphalt, a yellow scarf her grandmother tied still warm against her neck, and a text that reads, "I'm here, red truck, door C." She believes this is the start of a love story. Her sister believes it's a test, and somewhere between those two hopes, a man who isn't who he says he is lifts a hand and waves like he's known Mia all his life. If you've ever wanted something so badly you mistook a warning for a welcome, stay with me. When the plane door yawns open, Texas exhales straight into Mia Adebayo's lungs, warm, bright, and heavy with the smell of melted rubber and popcorn. She presses a palm to her chest the way her mother taught her and whispers, "Let this be gentle." The yellow scarf, Grandma's hands, Grandma's prayer, sits like a small sun at her throat. For the first time in a long time, she lets herself imagine a future with soft edges. Her phone buzzes as the crowd funnels toward baggage claim. Tyler, see you in 20, door C, red F-150, can't wait. A blue heart, a location pin. She smiles at the glass, at her own reflection looking braver than she feels. The carousel coughs out suitcases like tired animals. Strangers stage their reunions, arms thrown wide, laughter, the small collisions of people who belong to one another. Mia waits, 10 minutes, 15. Another buzz, construction's a mess, I'm circling. The word circling lands in her stomach like a coin dropped in a well. Still she waits. Hope is patient, fear is punctual. A red truck prowls past the curb. Her pulse lifts, it slides by without stopping. She waves anyway, scarf bright as a lighthouse, no response. The truck loops again, slower this time. Her phone hums of parked now, hang right, guest pickup, cap on. She steps into the heat. It swallows sound. Security barks directions. Somewhere a child cries. Tires hiss over painted lines like snakes. Mia scans the curb. Caps, backpacks, bouquets, welcomes printed in glitter on poster board. Then a voice, gentle, right behind her shoulder. "Hey, Mia." She turns, cap, plaid, beard, a smile that finds her like a spotlight. "You found me," he says, and his hand lands lightly on the handle of her suitcase, possessive in the polite way. Her phone lights in her palm, Tyler calling. She glances at the name, at the man, at the name again. He doesn't look down at his own phone. "You look like sunshine," he says, nodding at the scarf. "Perfect." The truck he leads her to is indeed red, older than the photo, paint dulled along the door seam. Inside, the air conditioner wheezes and the cab smells like pine and a ghost of cigarettes. He talks, stuccos by the river murals, a sky so wide it corrects your posture. She wants to believe this is what new beginnings sound like. Her phone buzzes again. Tyler text, "Sorry about the parking ticket. You're even prettier in person." The words feel like a hand brushing the wrong way down velvet. She studies his wrist on the wheel. No braided leather bracelet like in the photos. Bare skin, a pale strip where a watch once lived. "Call me?" She asks lightly, testing her international plan, testing him. He lifts his phone. The screen reflects in the windshield. An unknown local number rings her, not Tyler. The highway sign flashes past. County Road 1143. The river that was supposed to be on their right slides out of view, replaced by scrub and quiet fences. She smiles the way women do when their bodies recognize a room before their minds do. "Wrong turn," she asks. "New route." He says, voice steady as a lullaby, less traffic. Her sister's message arrives like a lifeline, careful. Send location. Mia's thumb hovers. The red truck turns down a thinner road. Gravel cracks beneath the tires like bones under snow. And somewhere between the prayer her grandmother tied into that scarf and the promise in a stranger's smile, a little voice stands up inside her and says, very clearly, remember this moment. The road narrows until it feels like a decision she didn't make. Mesquite crowds the shoulders, whispering against the doors as the red truck noses deeper into a patchwork of pasture and scrub. The AC hiccups, then coughs back to life. He rolls his window down 2 inches and the heat pours in like a stranger at a funeral, uninvited, persistent, impossible to ignore. Mia tilts her phone low on her thigh, screen brightness ghosted. A message to her sister, taking back roads, send help if pin looks wrong. She taps the map. The blue dot pulses like a heartbeat, share location. The confirmation banner sweeps away and leaves a thin relief in its wake, like cool water on a burned tongue. Sorry about the construction, he says, eyes forward. Austin's been tearing itself up for a decade. She gives him a small sound that could be agreement, could be a prayer. Out the windshield, a cloud squats above the fields, too heavy, like weather thinking hard about becoming a storm. So, he says, first stop, Lakeview or tacos? Tacos, she says, public tacos. She adds lighter, I'm basic like that. He laughs, but it lands on the vinyl seat and doesn't bounce. You'll love the lake, he says, as if she hadn't spoken. Private is better for firsts, less pressure, more room to breathe. Her phone shocks her incoming call. Sis, she swipes and puts on her brightest voice. Hey, we landed, traffic is cute. Put me on speaker. Her sister's voice is all knuckles and instructions. You hear me? He glances over, half amused. Hi there, he says to the ether. I'm the tour guide. Great. Her sister says, not great at all. Which tour? He grins at the windshield. The real Texas, not the postcards. We're headed to the lake. Which lake? Her sister asks. The question hangs, sharp as a hook. He answers without missing a beat. Stillhouse, it's quiet. Mia frowns. The highway sign they'd passed had pointed away from Stillhouse. Her sister catches the same thread. Spell that, still, house. He glances at Mia's scarf. Her favorite color is yellow. I'm doing pretty good so far, right? Do me a favor. Her sister says, sugar turning to steel. Pull over at the next gas station. I left something in her bag and I need you to check. He smiles, a fraction too slow. We'll get you tacos first. Gas station now. The voice that raised Mia does not plead, it positions. Silence thickens, a barbed wire fence blurs by. A lone cow watches them like a witness who isn't testifying. He turns down a gravel road that appears between cedar like a magic trick only he sees. Shortcut, he says, gentle, reasonable, the kind of voice you'd use to coax a skittish dog onto a porch. Gravel pops under the tires. Pop, 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 like knuckles cracking. The trees fold tighter until the road becomes a throat. Ahead, a gate of gray wood, chain looped loose enough for a suggestion. He idles, wrists easy on the wheel. 2 minutes to the water. You'll hear cicadas like a choir. Mia's body writes its own advice up her spine. Stand up. Now? She opens her Maps app with her thumb under the phone, the way you might pet a cat you don't trust. Emergency SOS sits 3 clicks away behind the side button like a hidden blade. He shifts into park. Leaves twitch. A bird explodes out of a branch and her heart rides the noise. Look, he says, palms up, like he's surrendering a performance. I get it. You're careful. That's good. We'll sit by the water 5 minutes. If you hate it, I drive you straight to tacos, public, under fluorescent lights, no problem. He smiles. I'll even let you pick the salsa. A text banners over the map. Sis, I see your dot. That's not Stillhouse. Keep the line open. Mia breathes in through her nose the way the women in her family taught her to store air for arguments and pain. Open the gate, she says, voice small and steady. I want to stretch my legs. He tilts his head, measuring the ask. You can stretch in the truck. He says, but it's lazy, like he's already saying yes to something else. She rolls the window down an extra inch. Heat and cedar slap her. She slides the phone to her lap, face up, screen dark but alive. Please, she says, my knee locks on flights. He considers her kneecap like it might have a personality. Then he shrugs and gets out. The truck creaks. The door shuts. In the convex mirror, he becomes a slice of moving plaid and cap, easy shoulders, the gait of a man certain the world will tilt his way. He unlatches the chain and swings the gate. Dust climbs. The lake winks one blue tooth through the trees. Close, too private. Sis, Mia whispers, not moving her lips. He's opening the gate. Good. Her sister whispers back, like a coach behind a curtain. Buckle, quietly, when he gets back in, I want you to do exactly what I say. The driver slides into the seat. The smell of his cologne rises. Sweet wood, mint, something that learned to pretend. You'll like this, he says. It's the kind of quiet that takes the weight off your back. Her seatbelt clicks home like a promise. He shifts from park. Now, her sister says, voice flattening into command, press your phone's side button 3 times. Don't look down. Keep talking out loud. Mia smiles at the window as if at scenery. So what do people do at this lake? She asks, light as lint. He grins, whatever they want. She presses the side button once, twice, 3 times. Vibrations stack like small earthquakes. The phone hums longer, emergency SOS sent, and keeps humming the way an alarm does when a house means it. The screen black, the world bright. What was that? He asks, eyes flicking toward her lap. Bluetooth hiccup. She says, tasting the lie. Airplane mode still dying. His jaw clicks once as if he's chewing on a decision. The truck rolls forward through the gate, the crunch of gravel loud enough to feel in her teeth. Her sister's voice returns through the speaker, too loud. Mia, I'm on with 911. Keep narrating. He glances at the console, at her phone, at the trees. Something in the air changes temperature. He kills the radio. Let's not make this a big thing. He says gently, and it's a kindness wrapped around a blade. I'm not a bad guy. I didn't say you were. She answers. I said I wanted tacos. And I said you'll get them. The road kinks left toward the suggestion of water. A dragonfly saunters across their path, the color of engine oil. Sweat pads her upper lip. She can hear her grandmother for a moment as if the woman were sitting in the back seat. When the goats start smiling, check the fence. 5 minutes. He says of quiet, then tacos. Deal, here's my deal. Her sister says from the phone, like a third person in the truck who grew out of the speaker grill, there are deputies 3 minutes out. Keep driving slow. His knuckles blanch on the wheel. His smile shrinks to a paper cut. Turn that off, he says to Mia, voice still sweet, now with a burr. Please, can't, she says. It's stuck. He brakes. Dust sloshes past the windshield like milk. For a second, everything goes silent except the cicadas, and even they sound like they're holding their breath. He turns his face toward her, slow, patient, a sunflower following something that isn't the sun. Mia, he says, her name round in his mouth, wrong and right at the same time. I'm trying very hard to make this easy. She meets his eyes and remembers the airport's neon joy and the text with the blue heart, and the way a yes can sometimes sound exactly like a trap. Then make it easy, she says, take me back. The truck idles. A bead of sweat crawls behind her ear like a thought she doesn't want. Somewhere far off, a dog barks 3 times, mechanical as a metronome. He smiles again, the tired smile of a man who has been told no by a vending machine. You'll still get the tacos, he says, and his right hand leaves the wheel. She doesn't see where it goes, glove box, pocket, underseat space, because in that exact second, 2 things happen. The faint warble of a siren threads the trees, and her phone erupts with the long, unignorable tone of the emergency alert she never thought she'd hear outside a test. His eyes flinch toward the tree line. He makes a small decision, and the truck lurches forward, deeper into the green mouth. Mia, her sister says, voice breaking and then soldering itself back together. Keep talking. Mia swallows the taste of copper and fear. The trees are thicker. She narrates as if describing a movie to someone in another room. The lake is close. There's a picnic table, an old one, and The truck noses past a stand of cedar, revealing a sliver of water wide enough to swallow a sky. To the left, a turnout. To the right, a path sunk with old tire ruts that say other people have chosen this before, and not all of them nicely. He taps the brake, thinking, eyes flicking to a shape in the rear view that could be dust, could be salvation. Bryce. He says to himself, too soft, and Mia's blood goes colder than the AC, not Tyler. Bryce, a name like a trap closing. The siren climbs a step closer, a wolf clearing its throat. He shifts. The truck hesitates between directions, toward water, toward escape, toward the place where the dust will become a car with lights. Then he picks one. He chooses water. The red truck nose is right, tires slipping into the twin grooves of old ruts that lead toward a narrow strip of shore. Sun shatters on the lake like broken glass. The siren lifts, closer now, not a rumor but a geometry, something you can triangulate with your bones. Mia feels three truths at once. The door is locked, her seatbelt is a leash and a lifeline, and the phone on her thigh is the only witness that won't look away. She loosens the belt half an inch so she can breathe. He notices, of course he notices, and his hand ghosts toward the console where a cheap dash camera used to be but isn't. Don't, he says softly, as if she's a radio he can tune. Almost there. She keeps her voice casual, clear, pointed at the speaker like a flare. There's a picnic table, one bench missing, graffiti, looks like initials. J+R 2019. Copy, copy. Her sister answers immediately, tight with effort. Deputies are on your pin, 30 seconds. The truck bumps down the last ridge and spreads into an oval of dirt by the shore. Cedar hems the turnout on three sides. The fourth is open water, brown, green, and unpleasantly calm. He parks angled to the lake like a fisherman about to cast. For a moment he just breathes, jaw ticking, eyes on the mirrored surface as if it holds instructions. 5 minutes. He says again, a mantra worn smooth. Then hot sauce and jokes and neon menus. We'll laugh about how jumpy you are. I won't, she says. He looks at her full on then, and the smile drops out of his face like a trapdoor. What replaces it isn't rage. She could plan for rage. It's a kind of hollow patience, like a clerk closing a drawer. His right hand slides between the seats toward the shadow where vinyl meets floor mat. Mia moves. There are lessons your body remembers before your mind, how to pull fabric when it snags, how to grab the thing that isn't yours, how to weaponize ordinary objects. Her left hand snaps the seatbelt release. Her right finds the yellow scarf at her throat and yanks it free. In one motion, she loops it around his reaching wrist and braces her heels against the floor, hauling backward. The scarf goes taut. He grunts, surprised. For a heartbeat, he's leashed. She shoves the door handle. Locked, of course it's locked. He jerks, and the scarf burns across her palm. Stop, he says, and the word's plea is a lie. It's an order in a cheap coat. His free hand slaps at the lock switch. She slaps it first. The thunk of freedom takes the air out of her lungs. Get out of the truck. Her sister says in her ear, voice shaking with fury she's holding like a full cup. Now, Mia. He lunges for her phone. She throws her elbow up, takes the brunt on bone, and jabs forward with the only sharp thing she owns, her house key clenched between knuckles. It scrapes his forearm, a bright red line blooming. He flinches. Half a second is everything. She kicks the door with the flat of her foot and it bursts, banging cedar. Heat punches in. The scarf slips. She tumbles out onto dirt and rock, palms skidding, a yelp torn out of her. Behind her, his door opens, fury arriving late to his face. Stop, he barks. Mia, she runs. The ground tilts, loose stones sliding like marbles under shoes. Lake to her left, trees to her right. Cicadas saw the day in half. Her breath becomes a metronome set to panic. She aims for the gap between two cedars where the undergrowth thins to a deer path. He's close. His shadow swallows hers for a second, then staggers as he missteps. Keep talking. Her sister cries, the phone a siren in her palm. left or right, right into cedars, thick. There's a rusted trash can. A shot of metallic stink, an old beer, stabs her nose as she vaults a dented cylinder, nearly falls, rights herself. A branch slashes her calf. She doesn't look back. Looking back is tripping in disguise. The siren is no longer a line. It's a wall, tires on gravel, a car door slam, a voice amplified in God. Strong, sheriff's office, hands where we can see him. Bryce stops. She hears it, the skid of boots dragged into brake marks. He pivots and bolts the other way toward the choke of brush that knows his shape and welcomes it. Of course, he knows a second path. Men like him always rehearse the exit. Mia, another voice, closer, human and urgent. Ma'am, this way. She breaks right again and the trees spit her into glare. A white SUV idles, lights punching holes in the color of the world. A deputy stands behind the open driver's door, one hand outstretched, the other braced on the frame, weapon down but ready. His sunglasses show her a tiny, trembling version of herself. Hair wild, scarf gone, knees dirty, eyes bright and furious. She stumbles toward him and he catches her with a forearm like a bar, swings her behind the door's shield. "Are you hurt?" he asks, already scanning the tree line. Scratches. She gasps. He went, Unit 2. The deputy barks into his radio. Foot pursuit eastbound through Cedar, suspect male, plaid shirt, baseball cap, cut on right forearm. Another siren answers like a promise. Behind the SUV, another deputy angles toward the red truck, cautious, slicing the air with commands. "Driver, show me your hands." But the driver's door stands open to nothing but the echo of weight that just left it. Mia clutches the door's inner handle until plastic creaks. Her phone vibrates so hard it blurs. She lifts it. Her sister is weeping and swearing in a single language only siblings know. "I'm here," Mia says, suddenly calm, the kind that comes after the worst thing chooses a different target. "I see a sheriff. I'm okay enough. Stay with her." The first deputy says to the radio, to the world, to whoever will listen. Then to Mia, softer, "You did good." He peers at her hand. The scarf burn is raw, angry. "We'll get a medic." Across the clearing, the second deputy reaches the truck and freezes. He glances back, grim. "You seeing this?" "What?" The first calls, still scanning the green for a flash of plaid. "In the bed." The second says, voice flat to hide the spike underneath. Rope, duct tape, camera, multiple phones, and he lifts something small from the ashtray with two gloved fingers. A braided leather bracelet, sun, faded where a wrist once shielded it. Souvenir. The first deputy's mouth hardens. He looks at Mia at her bare wrist, at the way her eyes understand too much in too few seconds. "It's evidence now," he says, and that is both a promise and a wound. Footsteps thud in the brush, shouts, the crackle of radio like a hive waking. Mia leans her forehead against the cool metal of the SUV and lets 3 breaths arrive and leave without trying to control them. From somewhere not far, a voice calls, "Got him, hands down now." A beat, too, the struggle. Sounds go from jagged to arranged, the way chaos always does when authority wins. The deputy steps half a pace forward, shoulders squaring as if he can physically block the past from touching her. "Ma'am," he says, tone pivoting back to procedure, "we're going to take your statement, then we'll get you to town for a proper check. You're safe now." Safe is a generous word. Safe is a town she hasn't moved back to yet. But the lake winks, and the siren winds down, and in the mirror of his sunglasses, Mia watches the outline of a man in a plaid shirt being walked backward into the open. His cap gone, his hair flattened, his mouth set in a smile that has nowhere left to land. The deputy lowers his radio and looks at her properly for the first time. The dirt on her cheek, the line the scarf left on her palm, the way she's balancing on the front edge of herself to keep from shaking. He nods once, not pity, acknowledgement. "You're here," he says. "I am." She answers, and the words feel like stepping onto shore. Behind the cedars, a blue dragonfly drifts over the water, ignorant and perfect. The yellow scarf lies somewhere in the brush like a shed piece of sun. "Ma'am," the deputy says gently. "What's his name?" Mia swallows. The truth tastes like iron and clarity. "It wasn't Tyler," she says. "He called himself Bryce." She looks toward the trees where voices are finishing a sentence. "The day began at the airport. But I think he's had more than one name." "Not anymore," the deputy replies, already writing it down. And for the first time since door C, the world tilts back 1 degree toward level. Fluorescent lights have a way of flattening everything: faces, fears, even time. In the sheriff's substation, Mia sits in a blue plastic chair that squeaks when she remembers to breathe, a styrofoam cup of water sweating onto a clipboard, and a gray wool blanket draped over her shoulders like the idea of warmth. The yellow scarf is gone. In its place, the raw stripe across her palm glows angry and honest. A deputy with a soft West Texas drawl, nameplate J, Ross, sets a recorder between them, its red eye the only bright thing in the room. "Just talk like you're telling a friend what happened," he says. "I'll nudge if we need details." She nods, and her voice does what voices do when they've been holding too much. It comes out steady, like a bridge. Door C, the red truck. The call from Tyler while a man who was not Tyler smiled like a magnet. County Road 1143. The cedar, the gate. The word Stillhouse pronounced like a lie. The way he said 5 minutes, as if it were a prayer. The scarf, the seatbelt, the run. Ross doesn't interrupt much. When he does, it's to circle something small that matters to courts, even if it feels like nothing to the body. Unknown local number, not the contact you had saved. Seatbelt locked until you hit the switch. You heard him say Bryce, not sure why. He hands her a tissue when her eyes finally sting. He does not say you're safe. He's smart enough not to fight a word that hasn't earned its badge yet. Across the hall, 2 evidence techs move through the red truck like careful ghosts. She can't see them, but she can hear the percussion of their work. Bag zip, camera shutter, the litany of tag, seal, label. A 3rd tech walks past the open door with a clear baggin. Side it, the braided leather bracelet that belonged to a man she has still only met through light and sound. "Do you recognize this?" Ross asks later, when the bag is on the table, when the recorder has captured as much as it can of the day. She flinches at her own reflection in the plastic. "Not mine," she says. Then she makes herself say the useful thing. "In the photos Tyler sent, he wore one just like that on his left wrist." Ross's pen pauses. The room widens a fraction. "So either our guy tailgated your Tyler, or he stole the look from his photos, or he doesn't finish." "He doesn't need to. Predators are scavengers. Identity is carrion if you let it be." A woman in plainclothes steps in Detective Alvarez. Dark hair in a low knot, sleeves rolled, the calm of someone who has seen too many bad chapters and still believes in epilogues. She slides a tray across the table. "Gauze, antiseptic, bandage, hand," she asks. "Burn looks mean." Mia puts her palm out. The sting when the cold hits is a kind of inventory. Hurt, yes. Here, yes. Mine, yes. And Mia clings to it like proof she was not erased. Alvarez tapes the gauze gently, then sits. "We've got him in a holding room," she says. Name on his driver's license is Bryce Kincaid. Outstanding warrants in 2 counties. We're still mapping phones and recoverable data. Phones, Ross echoes, flipping a page. "We found 6. Alvarez's mouth is a straight line. They were sorted by names, not real ones. Mabel, June, Kay, yours said son, for the scarf, I guess." Her eyes flick to the bandage. Men like this. They organize what they think they own. Mia feels the air go thin for a blink. She swallows it back into shape. He said 5 minutes. She whispers, and it sounds absurd here under the lights, like it was mercy. 5 minutes is long enough to do a lot of harm, Alvarez says. "You made choices that cut that time to pieces." Ross clears his throat, glances at Alvarez, then at the door. "There's someone here we think you should speak to," he says carefully. "We'll keep it short, no pressure." Mia's body answers with a chorus of no, 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 but her mouth says, "Who?" Before Ross can answer, a tech leans in with a tablet to sign, and the moment elongates. Paper slides. Forms beget more forms. The world becomes a bureaucracy with a heartbeat. Her phone, bagged and registered, is temporarily returned to her under escort so she can unlock it for extraction. The blue banners of her recent emergency blasts still sit on the lock screen like weather alerts. She enters the passcode. The familiar photo blooms. Guy, pure and stupid and blue. The detective plugs in a cable and the device begins to pour itself into a machine across the room. Data has never looked more like blood. With the phone in her hand again, warm, alive, messages begin climbing into the light as if they've been waiting in a well for a rope. Sis, I'm outside. I'm not moving. Another, minutes later, I'm in the lobby. Lady says paperwork. I swear I will dissolve this building with my eyes. Then, I'm proud of you. Breathe when you can. One more, newer, from a name that makes her chest weirdly tight. Tyler. It's exactly 2 lines. I'm here. Deputy said I could bring you food. I'm sorry about all of this. I'm in the lobby if that's okay. She stares. The bracelet in the evidence bag turns slightly, catching light. For months, she constructed a person out of late, night playlists and careful texts. For hours, someone wore that scaffolding like a costume. Now the original is 10 yards away with a paper bag and an apology he didn't earn but still owes. Alvarez watches her face without intruding. We can ask him to leave, she offers. We can also sit you in a room with glass and let you see him first. Your choice. Mia hears her grandmother in the cadence of choice. You can taste the soup before you salt it. She nods, glass first. They move her down the hall past a holding door that hums with recirculated air and a ceiling tile that doesn't quite match. The observation room is small, chilly, and quiet. The one-way glass is a rectangle of dark that hums with reflection. Alvarez dims the lights and the glass gives way to a waiting area lit like a bus station. He's there, sitting forward on a plastic chair, elbows on knees, a grease-spotted paper bag on the floor by his boot. No cap, no beard, or not much of one, just stubble like uncertainty. The left wrist is bare and pale, where sun hasn't reached it in a while. His eyes are ringed with the red of a man who hasn't blinked properly since noon. When the deputy at the front desk speaks to him, he stands the way shy people do. First eyes, then spine, then legs. He answers, nods, says yes ma'am and of course, and those little Texan politenesses that are a kind of armor. He looks toward the door once, as if he can feel the observation glass thrumming with attention. Mia can't tell if the thing rising in her throat is grief or relief. Maybe it's both. Maybe that's always the recipe when someone returns the part of your story they didn't steal, they just inspired. Glass or room? Alvarez asks softly. We'll back you either way. Mia looks at the paper bag, grease making a map on the bottom like a country she used to live in. She thinks of her sister on a bench down the hall, legs jiggling like a drum. She thinks of Bryce in a room somewhere counting his names and wondering which one will work next. Room, she says, surprising herself with the speed of it. 5 minutes. She adds, because she's the one who owns that number now. Alvarez nods once, and something like respect moves across her face. Yes, ma'am. They bring him into a small conference room that smells faintly of dry erase markers and old pizza. When he steps through the door and sees her, he stops like he's reached a cliff he didn't expect. For a beat, no one talks. The paper bag rustles as his grip tightens, then loosens. I'm Tyler, he says, and the name fits him like a coat worn improperly. His voice is the one she knows. A little radio, a little road, a lot of porch at dusk. He swallows. I'm sorry for everything that's even near my name. He sets the bag on the table gently, like a small animal. Breakfast tacos. They'll be terrible by now. He attempts a smile and abandons it for something truer. For when you're ready, the door clicks shut behind them. Alvarez stands just outside the glass, a silhouette of patience and backup. Mia sits. Tyler sits. The bag sits between them like a treaty. Her bandaged palm throbs in time with a clock she can't see. Did you ever wear a leather bracelet? She asks first, because the practical thing is the raft she chooses. He blinks, surprised by the shape of the question. Years ago, he says slowly, left wrist. My sister made it when she was into crafts. I lost it at a truck stop near Waco last summer. He grimaces, ashamed for no good reason. I keep checking for it. Ghost habit. They look at each other over the sad tacos that smell like cumin and second chances. He's a person again, not a signal. She is too. On the wall, the second hand does its stubborn little march. In the hallway, someone clears a throat, paper shuffles, a phone rings and is silenced. The world continues, rude and reassuring. Mia opens the bag. Warmth puffs up, thin, earnest. She doesn't eat. She just breathes it in. She wants her sister. She wants her grandmother's scarf. She wants a version of the day where none of this happened, and she is simply texting about the way Texas light sits on buildings like a benediction. Instead, she says, "Tell me something true from you." He nods, grateful for an assignment. Sometimes, he says, after a long haul, I park on the edge of town and sit in the cab an extra hour just to be alone with the quiet before I go inside and become somebody again. She exhales, a strange little laugh caught in the middle like a moth. I make lists of cities I cried in, she says. She looks at the gauze. I guess I add Austin with an asterisk. Asterisks are fair, he says softly. They're just notes to self. The door opens and Alvarez leans in, apology already on her face. Hate to interrupt, but this can't wait. She slides a printed page onto the table between the tacos and the bandage. Flight info, arrival time, tonight. A name Mia doesn't recognize. A message recovered from one of the seized phones. Door C, red truck, 5 minutes. Alvarez taps the paper with one nail. He had another pickup scheduled. She says, voice ironed flat, in 3 hours. The room tilts, the clock grows louder. Outside the glass, the station hums like a throat clearing. Mia looks from the paper to Alvarez to Tyler, whose jaw tightens until it creaks. She presses her bandaged hand to the table so she can feel something solid. What do you need from me? She asks. Alvarez meets her eyes. To help us make sure she never gets in that truck. The plan grows out of the ugly fact like a spine, segment by careful segment, until it can stand. Detective Alvarez spreads the printouts across the table. The message chain recovered from the seized phone. The flight number landing at 7:12 p.m. The familiar choreography of Door C. Red truck. 5 minutes. She talks through the options with the clean calm of a surgeon. We notify the airline. We try to reach her en route. We lock down arrivals. We put eyes on every red pickup within a mile of the curb. She looks at Mia. We can also send a reply from his phone, by time, change the meeting point to someplace we control. Public, Mia says, because the word has become a sacrament. Public. Alvarez echoes, and the plan tacks 3 degrees towards safer water. They move, Mia, Tyler, Alvarez, Deputy Ross, as a small unit stitched by urgency. In the hallway, Mia's sister bursts from a plastic chair like a shot and wraps her, careful around the bandage, fierce everywhere else. You're not leaving my sight, she says, eyes glittering with unshed storms. I need to. Mia answers, gentle but immovable. We have to stop him twice. Her sister's mouth tightens, then she nods because love is sometimes letting someone walk toward the thing that just tried to take them. Then I'm coming, she says, and the detective makes room for that, too. In the tech room, a specialist in a faded concert tee is already plumbing the wonky architecture of the seized phones, coaxing profiles out of SAM trays like names from a stubborn memory. We can respond from his number, she says, chin tilting toward the screen where the new target's thread glows, but she may not check in flight. We should still meet the plane. Alvarez's finger drums once. Both, she decides. Message now. Intercept later. What do I say? The tech asks. Mia leans in, reading the rhythm of Bryce's earlier texts. The too easy charm, the casual entitlement, the way he folded women into a script he'd already written. She hated it, she understood it. Keep it simple, she says, something he'd trust. She speaks, the tech types. Airport traffic is chaos. Meet at coffee stand inside by baggage claim. I'll send a pic. Ross frowns. Why not keep it curbside, easier to surveil? Cameras are better inside, Alvarez answers, and you can't get lured into a truck from a counter line. A deputy jogs past with a radio pressed to his shoulder. Somewhere, a printer coughs, forms in triplicate. The station hums, each sound a stitch holding the hour together. Photo. The tech prompts. Mia opens her camera roll. It is full of brown river water and murals and a sky that kept trying to save the day but couldn't. She flips to a selfie from arrivals, her scarf the yellow sun at her throat. She can't use herself as bait, that chapter is closed. Tyler, she asks, surprising them both. He goes still. You want me to? Not you, Alvarez says quickly. We'll use a plainclothes officer roughly your build. We just need a silhouette, cap, plaid, nondescript, enough for a heartbeat's trust. Tyler nods, relieved and guilty at the same time. He looks at me, his bandaged palm like it's a map he should have read sooner. Get her out, he says, quiet and fierce, meaning the woman on the plane, meaning all the women who never texted sisters fast enough. They send the message. 3 dots appear, vanish, reappear. Dance of uncertainty across continents. Finally, okay, inside is better. See you by the coffee stand. A blue heart follows, terrible and ordinary. Let's go, Alvarez says. The convoy unspools. 2 marked units, 1 unmarked SUV, a plain sedan with a magnetic antenna snapping in the wind. In the back seat, Mia threads her fingers with her sisters. The sun is slanting toward evening in that greedy Texas way. Gold poured over concrete, shadows like oiled ropes. Tyler follows in his own truck, stubborn and quiet, a presence that feels like a promise he hasn't made yet. On approach, the airport looks exactly as it did when the day was still a hope. The steel ribs, the glass that turns sky into architecture, the long sigh of arrivals swallowing and exhaling lives. But now Mia sees it like a crime scene built in advance for convenience. Alvarez parks where police are allowed to pretend rules are suggestions and starts assigning posts. 2 at the coffee stand, 1 at each escalator, 1 drifting the baggage carousel, 1 outside cruising curb lanes to tag every red truck that thinks it's invisible. Plainclothes officer new, in cap, plaid, innocuous smile. Stands near the espresso machine, phone in hand, posture broadcasting I'm the guy you're looking for at exactly half. Volume. Target's name is Grace, Alvarez says, reading from the manifest and the thread. 31, connecting from Phoenix, text history says she told a friend, we've got airport PD paging discreetly as a backup. Mia wants to fold herself into a chair and disappear. Instead, she positions herself at the perimeter, eyes high, scanning faces. Her sister stands at her shoulder like a second spine. Ross lingers within earshot, keeping her in his orbit without making her a moon. Passengers begin to drip down the escalator, rollers, backpacks, the stooped and the sprinting. Mia doesn't know how she'll recognize Grace until she does. A woman with travel hair and hope hands, scanning the crowd with a smile she's rehearsed all week in the mirror. Her tote says PHX loves you in peeling letters. She sees Nguyen, her shoulders drop with gratitude. Mia moves before she can talk herself out of it. She steps into Grace's path with both palms up like she's catching a falling plate. Hi, you don't know me. I'm Mia. Please don't be scared. She says scared because avoiding the word makes it bigger. Grace startles, looking past her to Yin, confused, half apology already forming. I'm your. Alvarez is there in a blink, badge down low, voice even. Grace, I'm Detective Alvarez. We need a minute. The person you've been messaging isn't who you think. Grace's smile collapses into whitened lips. No, we've been. He sent photos. We FaceTimed. Photos can be stolen. Alvarez says soft. Names, too. Yin gives a tiny wave, then drifts back into the crowd. Just another cap in a terminal of caps. 2 officers in plain clothes slide into the space Grace would have occupied if the day had gone the old way. Grace looks at Mia like she's a test of something cruel and necessary. How do you know? Because he used my life to bait you. Mia says it costs her more than blood. I got off a plane today, too. I wore a yellow scarf. I thought I was walking toward joy. Grace's tote slips off her shoulder and thuds the floor. Her eyes water without permission. I was so careful, she whispers, and there it is. The ache that men like Bryce count on. The belief that caution is a curse you can outrun by doing it right. You were, Mia says, you are, and you're here, not there. That's what careful looks like. Around them, the airport continues its pageant of reunions and shrugs. A toddler drops a stuffed bear, and a businessman kicks it back gently. The espresso machine screams like a train in a dream. Nguyen's cap disappears up the escalator, target dissolved. Alvarez guides Grace to a bench by the window where planes taxi like patient animals. We'll take your statement, she says. We'll get your friend's contact so she knows you're safe. We can book you a hotel tonight if you need space to unknot this. Grace nods, fingers trembling around the tote straps. She sits, she looks at Mia's bandage with reverence like it's a relic. Thank you, she says, and means it like a vow. A radio fizz cracks at Alvarez's hip. Update. A voice says, compressed by plastic and urgency. Unit on County Road 1143 reports suspect has LAI static, but prints match warrants. Multiple devices yielding. Also, surveillance caught a red F-150 circling arrivals. Plate flagged. We're pulling it over now. Alvarez's eyes sharpen. Copy. Keep it soft until we confirm driver. Mia doesn't realize she's holding her breath until her sister squeezes her fingers and she lets go of the inside of her lungs. Come sit. Grace says suddenly, patting the bench with the surprising authority of someone who just walked away from a different ending. Both of you, they do. For a moment, the three women form a little republic by the window, a country with a flag you can't steal, bandage white, tote blue, scarf yellow remembered. In the glass, the airport throws their reflections back at them, stretched, real, alive. Behind the bench, Officer Nguyen steps into view again holding two paper cups. He hands them over without a word. Coffee, too sweet, too hot, perfect. Alvarez takes a call a few paces away, voice pitched low but threaded with that iron Mia has come to lean on. She turns back, mouth a thin line that is not unhappy. Traffic stop confirmed. She says, it's not him. It's a man with expired plates and a surly attitude. The universe has jokes. A small smile breaks, quick as a match. But no pickup tonight, not for him. Grace breathes out a sound that's part laugh, part sob. I flew across 2 states for a stranger, she says, trying on the sentence, finding it fits and doesn't. What do I do now? Call your friend. Mia says, eat something bright, sleep with the light on, and tomorrow, if you want, we can make a list of cities we survived in. Grace's mouth twitches into a true smile, the kind built from a smaller, sturdier hope. Okay, she says, okay. Somewhere above them, a plane lifts off, wheels folding like an apology. The sky accepts it. Inside, 3 women drink coffee that will leave their hands smelling like sugar and resolve. Outside, the evening drapes itself across Texas, warm and insistent, same as it was when the door first opened this morning, except now the story is writing itself back toward ordinary in pencil you can't erase. By morning, the case is less a single bad hour and more a shape with ribs. Detective Alvarez starts pinning those ribs to a corkboard the way some people assemble family trees. On one side, Mia's timeline, the airport photo, the Cedar Road, the lake turnout sketched in blue pen with a little X where the truck idled. On the other, a lattice of names dragged out of 6 dirty phones. Sun, June, Kay, Rose, Poppy, Finch, not people but flowers and sky things, categories for what he thought he owned, patterns convict where confessions won't, Alvarez says, and the board grows. Deputy Ross works the logistics, subpoenas for cell tower pings, emergency preservation letters to the dating app and the phone carriers, a warrant for Bryce's apartment that turns up a box labeled camping, inside of which is everything but tents. A trail map with the lake circling in greasy fingerprint loops, a roll of black plastic half-used, a set of keys with a small aluminum tag that says Hilltop Storage 542, Hilltop's hours by noon. Ross says, and his voice has that sanded-down steadiness of a man who's cataloged too many rooms that start with hope and end with inventory. Mia returns to the station with her sister because staying home makes the walls ring. Tyler hovers like a satellite, never in the room without being invited, always a text away. His message is short and square. Here if needed, brought coffee. Your call. She likes the way he lets her be the one to draw the circle. Grace and her out-of-state friend do a video call in an interview room with a deputy sitting in the corner pretending to read forms. They hold their cameras inches from their faces like shields. They cry, then laugh because crying together felt like proof they weren't foolish alone. I did everything they tell you, Grace says, voice trembling. Photo, FaceTime, tell a friend, meet in public. Mia squeezes her hand, and that saved you. She says, not doing those things doesn't cause harm, but doing them can slow it down. Mid-morning, the forensic download of the phones finishes disgorging its river. A tech with purple nail polish and a spine made of caffeine scrolls through an app's backend like a librarian in a very fast fire. Same texts, she murmurs, same phrasing, door C, red truck, 5 minutes. He templated his life. They find longer threads, 2 weeks of grooming under one of the names. A second man sometimes chiming in with a different tone, more abrupt, less charm, the punctuation of logistics. 2 numbers, 1 scheme. Alvarez circles the second number in green and writes unknown above it in block letters. Who's the partner? She asks the room. If there is one. Storage locker. Ross answers as if the word itself might shake loose a clue. Hilltop Storage is a two-story building with sunburned paint and a manager who recognizes a badge quicker than she recognizes her own reflection. Unit 542 coughs up a smell like rubber and old rain. Inside, a plastic tote labeled cords that isn't cords, a box of burner phones with SIM in little jewel cases like cheap rings, a stack of license plates from 3 different states, a tripod, a dashcam identical to the empty mount in the truck. Bag everything, Alvarez says to the evidence team, holding herself still to keep from breaking all the tripods with her hands. She finds a spiral notebook near the back, half, full of lists written in blocky letters. Not names, cities, dates, airline codes, a column titled door with letters A through E. Every entry has a check mark, a cross out, or nothing at all. Mia stands just outside the locker, breathing through her mouth. She doesn't go in. The bandage on her palm has already collected dust from one kind of storage. She doesn't need another. Her sister reads the wall of metal doors like a litany and then shifts to anger because anger is a wind that will move you where sorrow just anchors you. They should burn this building, she says. Salt the concrete. We'll settle for chain of custody. Alvarez says dryly, and the gallows humor tastes like aspirin and keeps them upright. At noon, a public defender sits down across from Bryce in interview 2 with a legal pad and a smile with no heat. Bryce looks like a man who slept in a room where the air conditioner only makes noise. Clean t-shirt, no cap, wrist bandaged where a key sketched a red line. He doesn't sweat. He doesn't blink much. He lets the room watch him be composed. Alvarez and Ross sit on the other side of the glass, the way they teach you in detective school. One to breathe, one to think. You're not obligated to say anything, the defender says, polite as a grocery clerk, and anything you do say can be used. Bryce leans back like this is a show with too many previews. You got me for trespass, he says finally, mouth tilted at its usual angle. And panic, that's about it. Ross presses 2 fingers to the bridge of his nose. He thinks the worst thing that can happen to him is a fine and a lecture. Alvarez doesn't look away from the glass. He thinks people are fog, she says. He thinks he can drive through them. The first stack of lab rushes comes down the hall at 2. Fingerprints that nest like matryoshka dolls inside other cases, a partial match to a coerced assault in a neighboring county, a person of interest. Bulletin that never got its teeth sunk in because the woman left state and never picked up the phone again. The braided leather bracelet appears twice, in a photo taken at a gas station pump 8 months ago and in a convenience store surveillance still from 3 towns over where a man with Bryce's height, but not his beard, bought duct tape and a soda. On his left wrist, a tan line where leather used to be. Tyler reads the report in the lobby with his lips pressed together so tightly the color drains from them. He runs a thumb along his own left wrist, phantom habit. He wore me like a costume, he says, not asking for sympathy, naming a theft. Identity theft isn't just credit cards, Mia says. Some of us have our names taken from the outside, some of us from the inside. Either way, you spend a while squinting at yourself in the mirror. He huffs a laugh that isn't sure how to be laughter yet. You always talk like that, he asks, like you're printing the subtitles before the scene. Only when I don't want to feel like a passenger, she says. In the afternoon, the district attorney's office sends over a charging memo with language that feels like it was sharpened for this day. Kidnapping attempted, unlawful restraint, impersonation, stalking, evidence tampering. Ross reads it out loud in a voice that suggests he keeps his gratitude in a drawer and only opens it for company. Alvarez signs 3 lines with a pen that has no time for the idea of running out of ink. Miranda him again, she says, and bring me the green numbers subscriber info. The subscriber info arrives with all the fanfare of a bad secret finally tired of hiding. It's registered to a Warren Toombs, age 30. 9. A mechanic with a record of helping. That never involved receipts. A property in a rural pocket west of town, a truck listed as gray, not red, partner. Ross says, tapping the paper or mentor. Alvarez counters and her jaw goes hard. They roll another warrant, and by late afternoon, county cars are nosing down a lane flanked by sunburned hay. The property is quiet, with the kind of quiet that has stories under it. In a shed under a tarp, they find a gray truck with a front plate missing and a back plate angled as if it were shy. In a coffee can on a workbench, they find SIM cards like seeds. In a drawer, a ticket stub to the airport printed 3 days before Mia landed. Warren isn't there. The neighbors say he keeps odd hours. The dog bowl is dry. An answering machine blinks a number that feels like an accusation. Back at the station, Bryce's lawyer calls it an afternoon and leaves his client with a look that says, "Don't do anything cinematic." Bryce yawns delicately. Alvarez goes in with another detective this time, a woman who can ask the same question 4 times without changing her tone. "Is your name Bryce?" Alvarez asks, a smile on the card. "Is your name ever Warren? Blank. Never heard of him. Do you often meet women you've never met and drive them to private locations? Coffee shops are loud. Is 5 minutes your favorite number?" He blinks, slow. "Depends on the salsa," he says, and Alvarez marvels at how small a man can make himself without ever leaving the chair. At dusk, the station windows catch the last light and hold it, a trick of glass and intention. Mia and her sister sit with Grace and a victim witness advocate who has the posture of someone who's held a lot of bad nights together until morning. They build a list that starts as practical and becomes something like a prayer. Call mom. Eat, shower, sleep, new password, new picture, new entry, Austin, * Tyler steps in long enough to leave a paper bag again. He doesn't stay. When he goes, he touches the door as if it were a shoulder and walks into the orange evening that makes everyone look a little holy. At 9, Alvarez finds me in the quiet hallway where the vending machine hums to itself. "You've done enough for today." The detective says, "Go home, or go anywhere not here. We'll call with updates." Mia nods. She stands, then hesitates. "Detective," she says, "what happens to men who don't confess?" Alvarez considers the ceiling for a beat, then answers the way she wishes all answers came. Simple and true. "If we do our jobs, the paper does it for them." Mia exhales. It smells like coffee and adrenaline cooling into memory. She thinks of the yellow scarf lying somewhere by the lake like a sun she had to shed to live. "Tomorrow," she says, making a small treaty with herself, "I'll go get it. Take a deputy," Alvarez says, not smiling, "and let's hope it's still there." But before tomorrow can start, the phone on Alvarez's hip jitters with the kind of call that rearranges plans. She answers, listens, and her eyes sharpen to points. "What?" Mia asks, heart already bracing. Alvarez pockets the phone. "We've got movement on the green number," she says. Pings show Warren's phone just lit up, near the lake. The lake, Mia repeats, heat knifing her sternum. "Either he's covering tracks," Alvarez says, already walking, "or he's checking if the tracks are still useful." She doesn't say the third option out loud. She doesn't need to. The night has more ribs yet, and the pattern isn't done showing its bone. The night takes the heat and makes it hum. By the time the convoy turns off the county road, the sky is a deep bruise stitched with insects. Headlights die one by one until the patrol cars are dark hulks crouched under cedar. Alvarez steps out first, radio clipped high, silhouette all angles and intent. She doesn't bring sirens, she brings quiet that has been taught to listen. Mia stays in the car. Ross says, half order, half plea. "I know," Mia says, and surprises herself by meaning it. She sits in the back seat of the unmarked SUV with her sister, windows cracked to let in the orchestras, cicadas, frogs, the wet breath of the lake. The bandage on her palm pulses like a lighthouse hidden in fog. Alvarez sketches the plan in the light of a hooded flashlight. 2 deputies peel left along the deer path. Ross and a K-9 unit sweep the shoreline. Alvarez and a plainclothes officer thread the ruts toward the turnout where the water shows its one blue tooth through trees. The K-9, a black shepherd named Rook, watches the blue lights like he knows the concept of duty. Green number pinged near the boat ramp. Alvarez murmurs. If he's smart, he parked road, side and walked. Is he smart? Ross asks. He's here, she answers. That's a kind of stupid and a kind of brave. They move. Flashlights stay low, painting thin ellipses on dirt and root. Rook's harness creaks once as he leans forward into scent none of them can parse. In the SUV, Mia breathes on a slow count, filling spaces between ribs she didn't know could grow. Her sister squeezes her knee 2 beats too long, as if glue were a love language. If he's here to cover tracks, her sister whispers, he's going to hate how many footprints we brought. Across the clearing, a deputy lifts a hand that means stop. The gesture travels person to person in the dark like a message moving at the speed of trust. Ross kneels, fingers hovering over a print pressed into sand soft as cake fresh, deep, heel crisp. He points without touching, 2 sets, one heavier, broader stride, one lighter, more erratic, as if the person kept looking back. Old, new, the lake keeps time badly. Alvarez touches 2 fingers to her ear. Unit 2, she murmurs, eyes, shadow at the ramp, comes back, threaded with wind, small, low, could be a cooler, could be a crouch. Alvarez moves like a thought, quick, clean, quiet. She reaches the edge of the turnout and lets the lake's breath talk to her. It says algae and old rope and something sharp under it like metal. She angles the beam down. A flash of silver in the dirt by the picnic pad. A key ring. Aluminum tag glinting. Hilltop 542. She doesn't smile. "He was here," she says, or wanted us to know he was. The radio scratches, movement. Unit 2 breathes, right of ramp, 30 yards, not a deer. Rook's ears knife up. He leans and then stops on command, vibrating with the effort of good behavior. The deputies split, bodies becoming shadows. Alvarez's flashlight lifts a degree. Sheriff's office. She calls softly, voice designed to be both a warning and a handhold. "Come out with your hands where we can see them." For 3 beats, the lake fakes being a painting. Then, from the black smudge of the boat ramp, a shape detaches. A man. Sized absence of stars. He pauses, as if choosing whether to be a wolf or a rabbit. The choice lands in his shoulders. He runs. He doesn't run away from them. He runs along the shore, as if guided by an old habit, as if his body knows the quick exits and his brain is late to the map. Alvarez doesn't shout twice. She turns her light off and moves, letting her ears carry her feet. Ross releases Rook with a word that sounds like a swallowed thunderclap, and the dog melts into darkness like a promise with teeth. In the SUV, Mia sees only rearranging shadows and feels her pulse imitate a drumline. She thinks of the scarf somewhere out there, a lost son. She thinks of the man named Warren who harvests SIM cards like seeds. She presses her bandage to the door plastic to ground herself in this car, this moment, this not running. Her sister leans forward. "Look," she whispers. Something swings low across the far edge of the clearing. A beam, not police steady but searching. It skims cedar, finds air, threads over the water like a needle. A handheld flashlight. Someone in a hurry. It jerks toward the turnout where the picnic bench sulks. He's looking for something he dropped. Mia says, certainty arriving like a clean cut, or something he left on purpose and wishes he hadn't. Alvarez sees it too. She signals Ross to pinch the space between the bench and the ramp. He arcs left, she glides right. The light in the distance stutters. A curse lifts, soft, bitter, then a sound like wood complaining. Someone bumping the old table with a hip. Rook barks once, short. The flashlight swings and dies as if a thumb smothered it. The night blossoms with motion. Boots' breath, the wet shush of reeds. Alvarez steps into the dark and her voice is iron. Warren Toombs, stop. He stops. But not in the way a man surrenders. He stops because he has found a tool he came for. Metal shrieks, something thin ripping through something older. The stink of gasoline arrives a second later, too loud for a smell. A flick, small as a thought. A match. No. Ross barks, and the word is a boot. He's too far to kick the man. He kicks the table. Wood lurches. The match falls wrong, kisses dirt, dies with a tired sigh. Alvarez's beam finds a stripe of red in Warren's palm where a scar has taught his hand a terrible discipline. He's older than Bryce by a decade, ropey and stubborn, eyes sun, squinted and hedge, green. He smiles like someone who expects the universe to adore him for his initiative. "You made a mess," he says conversationally, as if he's come to scold. "Now I gotta clean." Alvarez doesn't give him the stage. "Hands," she says. He takes a half step backward into the reeds, and the lake opens its mouth a little wider like it's been rehearsing. He glances at the black water the way a man glances at a friend who owes him a favor. 5 minutes, he says, and Mia feels the number like a bruise being pressed again. Then I'm gone. Rook hits him like a thesis, not teeth. Training holds those for when the world truly ends, but gravity and momentum and the unbearable weight of consequence. Warren goes down with a grunt that sounds like insult, not pain. Deputies are on him in a tangle of knees and commands. Hands, wrists, plastic zip that sings when it's right. The matchbook skitters into the dirt, teeth flashing the logo of a diner 3 towns over. "Clear," Ross calls, breath thick. He's secure. Alvarez breathes once like she's been underwater and nods. Evidence hot spot near the table. She says he was lighting something. They sweep the area with a 3-foot halo of cautious hunger. In the brush at the table's base, they find a small pile of things someone tried to make look casual. A cracked phone with its SIM surgically removed, a Ziploc bag of paper scraps that are actually the remains of a map, a coil of nylon line, and snagged on a cedar branch as if the tree had Decided to grow mercy. Mia's yellow scarf. Alvarez doesn't touch it. She lifts her chin, and the evidence tech comes in like a dancer. Bag open, hands gentle, respect palpable. The scarf slides into plastic with a whisper that feels like home coming indoors. In the SUV, Mia watches the bag float under a flashlight's small moon, and her throat tries to do too many things at once. She thinks of her grandmother's hands making the knot before dawn, palming hope into silk like it could be saved and spent. Her sister makes a sound that is half feral and half hallelujah. "Stay," Ross says to the SUV as if it can hear, then walks Warren past on a leash of zip cuffs. Up close, Warren smells like old sweat and counterfeit authority. He doesn't look at Mia. He stares at the place where the scarf was as if the cedar betrayed him personally. "You boys always ruin a good evening." He grumbles, not to them, to the night. Alvarez steps in front of him, small enough to be underestimated, solid enough to be a wall. "Evenings like this ruin themselves," she says. "You give them the tools." They march him to a cruiser. He sits, arms angled behind, and tests the cuffs with the low patience of a man who believes all locks are just suggestions with hinges. Back at the table, Ross pulls on gloves and flips the ziplock over for any clue that didn't burn, ink that survived at the edges of a fire that never got to begin. There, airport code trios in a list: PHX, Den, Mackay, Tull. Dates, times, check marks, the sharp X where Mia's arrival should be, and beneath it the word sun. Same pattern, Alvarez says, close to the ugliness without letting it climb into her chest. Different pen. They collect the lighter. The matchbook, the scarf, the key ring with 542 like a confession he didn't mean to make. Somewhere in the weeds, a frog decides it has waited too long and throws its song into the night like a dare. "Let me see her," Mia says, voice small but clear. Alvarez turns, scans the shadows, calculates risk and reward in a blink. 2 minutes, she says, with me, no heroics. They walk the 10 yards like 40 years. Gravel, root, soft dirt, the table's scarred plank, the black quilt of lake. Alvarez holds the evidence bag up just enough for the moon to do a small kindness. The yellow is dulled by plastic, but it's still yellow the way a candle is still fire behind glass. Mia doesn't touch it. She nods to it like you nod to an elder in church, eyes hot, mouth aligned trying to relearn smile. "You came back," she whispers, and it isn't about the scarf at all. "Tomorrow." Alvarez says softly, "We'll log it out to you. Tonight it gets to be part of the story that keeps him in a cage." From the cruiser, Warren's voice floats back, sour and lazy. "You think a scarf is a crime. You ladies get dramatic over laundry." Without turning, Alvarez says, "We think me..."